Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Money Matters right here on WNFM. This program is brought to you by Bank of Nevis.
Home. It means something different to everyone. It's a place you love, a place as unique as you are, a place where you can be yourselves, a place for life's big surprises, and not to mention the small ones. Moments to cherish and moments that last a lifetime. It's a place for nurture and a place where you can grow together. It's home. So whether you're building, purchasing, or renovating, the Bank of Nevis is here to open the door, giving you the confidence to dream and the help you need to get there with a mortgage loan from the Bank of Nevis. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to another edition of Money Matters, brought to you by the Bank of Nevis, WNFM, and of course, our financial guru himself, Mr. Francis. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, hang 1 minute. All right, here we go one more time. Good morning, Mr. Francis.
Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning. Oh, nice to have you with us.
Right, glad to be here and hoping that we have a clear audio today.
Well, it's sounding clear enough for everyone to hear, and hopefully everyone is now tuning in
Wonderful.
for the program. And today we are tackling another big one. Let me first say, though, that Money Matters is a literacy public awareness program with financial coach and consultant Mr. Tally Francis. And the show is brought to you right here on 1FM and the Bank of Nevis. And it airs every Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. So welcome, everyone. We're going to be jumping into a really big ticket item. And you're like, well, what would that be? What's the biggest one you probably will ever pay once you decide to go down that road? It's your mortgage. Yeah, we're going to talk how to save money on your mortgage. So, Mr. Francis, we're going to jump right into it.
Sure.
Let's see. For most homeowners, let me just start off that way. The largest monthly expense, as I just mentioned, is the mortgage payment. What is a mortgage loan? We're going to start with the very basics.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're right. And as we say, glad to be with everyone this morning. And mortgage, yes, it is a loan. And in this loan, typically you're taking the money to purchase a home or to build one, even to refurbish. You can take a mortgage out to refurbish your home as well. And this is for the home that you live in, or it could be for any other type of real estate. And you would agree with the lender, usually a bank, a credit union, to pay back the loan over time. Typically, you make monthly payments, regular payments monthly. And the very big characteristic of this loan is that your borrowing is secured by the house, is secured by the land, is secured by the property that you now going to call your home. And the home serves as collateral. So the loan is secured by the collateral. The collateral is the same home that you take the loan to purchase or to build. And securing it meaning that if you as a borrower fail to repay the loan at any time, you come to fall short on payments that are due, the lender can take possession of the home, take possession of the property and sell it, using the proceeds then from the sale to repay the loan that you could not pay. So that's a mortgage.
All right. So if for any reason at all you fail to make payments on that home, does the lender then have to ask you any questions with regard to them taking over and selling your home?
You mean like asking you permission with it to sell?
Yeah.
No, not at all. And there's a legal process. And, but in a nutshell, the lender, the bank don't have to ask your permission. The bank would have already asked you, say, 3 times at least, in writing and by phone. The loans officer may have called you, the recovery or the collection officer may have called you and, ask you, do you have this outstanding? This is long overdue. Can you pay it? Please come pay it. Pay part, pay whatever, So you'd have had that back and forth with the, maybe not even back and forth, because if you really couldn't pay, it means that you couldn't even answer properly when they ask you. So what then happens is that after that little procedure, and so they then are having the right, because it's a collateral securing the loan. And usually they would engage someone, the bank also would engage like an auctioneer or someone like that to advertise and sell the property, trying to get the best price, of course, but at the same time, ensuring that the property is sold so that the money you borrowed could be repaid.
And it doesn't really matter how far into the mortgage payments you are. If you lapse, the bank will take your property.
Lapse is a good word, because
I have to say lapse.
Yes, you lapse. You have not been keeping up. You have not been keeping up with your payment on schedule as agreed. Does it matter how far you got into the mortgage? No, it does not really matter, because what matters really at that stage to the bank is that you have an outstanding amount that should have been paid by now, and you have not paid it. You have not shown that you are able to pay it even. And so you get to a point where practically you can say the bank has no choice but to recover its money by using the collateral, which you had agreed to in the beginning, will be collateral for the loan. So, and that is, it really doesn't matter how long. If you had a 30-year mortgage and you had paid 20 years, you now have 5 more years to go. And what is happening, your situation is that 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. I mean, if you think reasonably, the bank still needs to collect its money. It has 5 more years of money to collect. You can put it that way. And so this is why it's extremely important from the very beginning to, first of all, take out a loan that you can afford over the long term. The bank may help you determine what's a good loan, what can you afford, and so on, but you have to know what you can afford over the long term based on your plans and so, and based on your situation, your financial situation too. You cannot really predict what is going to happen in the future 100%, but certainly you can determine that, I'm going to take a loan that will be affordable for me over the long term. The second thing is very important to also make sure that you pay as agreed and pay on time. And thirdly, make sure that you are saving every single opportunity that you can during the life of the loan, including saving on the mortgage, which is wherever you have the opportunity to do that, you also do that. And so that if something happens, you reach hard time in year 5, in year 10, in year 15, you would at least have a little savings to take care of that mortgage payment, monthly one, as they come up.
I'm going to add a fourth. If you are running into a little bit of a problem, communicate with the bank and let them know up front. Don't let them have to be asking you a question, sending you letters all the time. Communicate with them before you see the problem approaching. Hit it head on, right?
That is extremely important. Communication for a mortgage loan or any loan that you have. It's important to communicate with the lender. And you're right, because if the bank will have to write you, it would mean one of the two things. Either they really can't find you and get a satisfactory response or discussion with you, or it would mean that they have spoken with you and you cannot come up to the plate. You are lapsing indeed, and so they have to formalize the procedure and the process to really demonstrate that they are making an effort to work with you, and you are unable at the time. But that's what happens when the bank has to move in on you for a mortgage. Most banks they're not interested in moving in on people for mortgages. They're not interested in taking the property and sell the property. They're interested in the loan, being completed, and you have your home. But if it comes to that and you are unable, it means that the solution would then have to be that. So you're right. Communication is a fourth one. Extremely important to communicate with the bank and communicate properly, truthfully, honestly. If it is that something is coming up and you think you won't be able to, communicate with them. There is one point that a banker will tell you, I'm sure. He would say that we are able to perhaps look at a restructuring or look at a temporary delay or something like that, and to work with you. Well, I'm not saying the banks will always do that, but I'm saying that depending on your situation, if you have the discussion, there's a better chance that you would be, you would have a lender, your friendly lender working with you rather than waiting until you can't pay 6 months, 7 months, 10 months, and then foreclosing.
Yeah. All right. So the amount that you pay monthly on to the bank, how is that amount determined?
Right. Well, in the setup of the loan, you have things doesn't really have to do with the loan itself that will determine how much you can pay. Things like your salary, what level of income that you have, and what existing debt that you have. If you have debts already paying, it means that when you take the mortgage, you add into that monthly debt that you have. Things like how indebted you are will tell that. What's your credit worthiness? Generally, the bank will try to figure that out. It would take a poll or an investigation, a background check here and there to find out how you have been paying. If you had previous loans already and you've been doing well with them, that also is one of the ways in which it determines. So the amount you pay every month is determined, though, by the amount that you end up borrowing. And so there are many other things that go into, like the amount of loan you will borrow compared to the value of the property that you buy. And so they work that out as well. A loan to value ratio, it's called. And, some banks wants to do an 80% loan, and 20% then is what you would have to put in. So you have the down payment component coming in as well. And so, you have all of this, but in the end, that amount that you borrow and the amount of years that you will repay, together with the interest rate that you are charged, will determine the amount that you pay every month. So if, for example, I take my little calculator here and I work that you are borrowing, say, $180,000, right? So you're going to borrow $180,000. If you get, let's take, let's say 5%. And for argument's sake, it's a 30-year loan. You're quite young. Right there on this calculator, the amount that I'm getting here is $996. So you have to pay $996 per month. What did I put in to determine that? The amount you will borrow, $180,000. The number of years that the loan is for, 30 years, and the rate that you will be charged by the bank. The interest rate is 5%. This is what I put in here. And in this example, you have to pay $996. Now that monthly payment of $996 includes a repayment of the principal. And when I say principal, I mean the amount that you borrowed. We call that the principal. So there's a portion of the $996 that is going to pay down the principal. So from $180, it will be reduced in the first payment based on the amount that is in there. And the other part of the $996 is the interest, which is what the bank earns as its income from giving you the loan. So every month you pay the $996, you are paying now part of the principal, you're repaying the loan in part, but you're also paying and compensating the bank for lending you that money at that time. And so that is how I would say in a simple way, that's how the amount is determined, and that is how the amount will be applied when you pay it every single month. Now, this mortgage is calculated for you by the bank. You get a figure, but again, it's extremely important that you make sure that it's a figure that you're comfortable with, that you will be able to pay over the long term, because you want to be sure that you don't be one that ends up lapsing because the amount you are having to pay every month is too high compared to what your plans are. Your plans today may not include may include certain things that when they come about, $996 might be too much for you. For example, you may be intending to have your second and third children being born in the next 3 years. So, those will add expenses to the family budget, which would make $996 perhaps too high for you. So you need to know and have that. So take the help of the bank, but also look at it yourself. The loans officer is there to do the business of the mortgage, but you have to be using the tips that we give you at Money Matters
Yes,
to handle
indeed.
your money well. Yes.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So here's a really big question now. How can we save on mortgage loans?
Okay, so saving on mortgage loans, again, it's a loan, so you do have to repay it. But we're talking now savings. So in the context of mortgage and savings, you have certain things that you can try to do, and we could discuss a few of them. And let me see if I could put up this here. If you have an arrangement to pay monthly, one of the ways in which you can save is to actually pay twice a month. You can make bi-weekly payments. So every 2 weeks you can make a payment. And what you want to do is every time you make the additional payment, you ask the bank to put that to your principal. Don't hold it there for the time the next payment date comes, but to pay your principal. You save because when you pay bi-weekly, what has happened is that you have 52 weeks in a year. So at the end of a year, you actually end up making 13 payments instead of 13 monthly payments instead of 12 monthly payments. If you pay it in that way, you get your extra there. That's a savings. But you want to make sure you pay early if you can, because that they apply it to the principal when you pay outside of the payment date, because what that does is that it reduces the principal balance on the loan between now and the next payment date.
So monthly. I mean, make 2 payments in the month as opposed to 1.
If you can. And this is very feasible for people who get paid fortnightly. People who get paid fortnightly, this is very feasible for them. People who also work on variable income, their salary vary. They get paid at different time, or even self-employed people.
Or maybe if they're doing something on the side as well.
As well, if you're doing something on the side, because this is feasible for you. That means because you come into money more often than once a month. So in that case, or you come into money at various times. So if I have the money today, rather than save it up and then put it to the payment on the 24th when it is due, I can actually pay it now that I received it on the 10th of the month. And so when I do it on the 10th of the month, what is happening is that between the 10th of the month and the 25th of the month, when the payment date I agreed on the bank is, that time the interest is on a lower amount because I've already put in, say, $500 towards principal. So that's $500 less for interest for the next 15 days until the next payday. So that is one way you could save. Now, not all banks would permit that to happen at that time, but once you have that same communication that you mentioned, you walk in there and you say you want to make the payment, you can make the payment, they will apply it, and it is something which is advantageous to you, but it's also advantageous to the bank because it means that you are being really very creditworthy in that sense. So that's one way in which you can save on the mortgage.
Okay, and another one?
Yeah, in a similar way, if you came into money, like you came into a bonus, you came into a raise, you came into whatever, that is lump sum, you can also make an advance payment. So when you make that advance payment, you are actually getting ahead. And imagine every time you get ahead on your loan, what has happened is that you're reducing the balance, but you're also reducing the number of years that you will have that mortgage obligation on your budget. Yes. So every time you get an opportunity, you can make an advance payment. Now, a lot of people don't even think about that because, you're comfortable, you're in the bank, all right, your salary is going and so. But even when you make an advance payment, if you came into hard time 5 years before the mortgage is finished, because you have that track record of having made good on your payments and better than was arranged, you have a better chance, a better opportunity of having the bank, be, I wouldn't say lenient, but working with you, be very accommodating to your situation at that time. So you would have, if you were in the countries where they do credit score, it means that your credit score is
would be
good.
Mm-hmm. Really good.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But if you are with us, you're actually here being put in the book of a good credit-worthy person. a good paying person. You know the difference between a bad pay and a good pay?
Oh, we
So
know.
a
I
good
think all
pay.
of us know.
So you imagine you're in a good pay segment of the bank's book, and that helps you.
Okay.
So another way you can save on mortgages is to let your loan go for a shorter period rather than for a longer period when you're setting up the loan, if you can afford it. Now, remember, the longer the loan is, in the life of the loan, is the more years you pay in interest, and therefore it is the more that the property is costing you over time. So one way you want to save in your own budget, one way you can save is by, when you're setting up your loan, if you can truly afford a 20-year loan, do a 20-year instead of a 30. If you can truly afford a 15-year loan, do a 15-year instead of a 20. And the reason is that the longer the loan for the same interest rate, it will be the more interest that you pay over time on the mortgage. Now, you can shorten the amount you pay on the mortgage in two ways. One of the ways is that you can agree to pay a larger monthly amount every during the life of the loan. That means if you can pay a larger monthly amount, it means that you're not bound to spread such a longer period. But the other more important way is the down payment. How much of the property can you own for yourself by putting in a bigger down payment so that you have to borrow a smaller loan? So if you have to pay $200,000 for the property, can you actually put up $40,000 instead of $20,000? If you are able to put up $40,000, you are borrowing less. And if you borrow less, then for your lifetime, you are paying less interest on the mortgage loan. So that's another way in which you can save yourself from having to pay a high number in terms of the amount of money you're paying on a mortgage. So you want to look at it that way, you see, Sharon, because it is never really that you walk into the bank or the credit union and then once you're in there, the lender is working things out for you 100% to your best interest, because remember, they're also doing business. But not only that, you know more than them what's happening with you, and perhaps they didn't ask you a question like your family size intended. They didn't ask you a question like, you know, what are you going to do in terms of your car habits? Are you buying cars every 3 years instead of 5 or 6 or 10? Are you buying new cars always instead of, valuable used cars? So you may not have had that kind of discussion. So you want to take that into consideration. The bank wouldn't know whether your aging parent would be a dependent of yours as well. So those things, you have to think of them while you're setting up your mortgage so that you can save and save well. So this second way was to have either a larger down payment or a larger monthly payment so that you can have a shorter number of years that you take out the mortgage for than a longer number of years, because the shorter number of years is the less interest that you pay.
Okay, so now that if you choose to go that route, now that you have this money, some people might consider maybe investing it in something like maybe stocks or bonds or something else. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. What do you do with the savings? What you do with your savings? You want to do the first thing you want to do. You want to do that which makes you financially healthy with less stress. And one of the first things that helps you to be healthy with less stress is your emergency fund. We're going to talk about that sometime in another program, but you want to have an emergency fund. You build up the emergency fund. The emergency fund for one person and one family would be different from another. So it's not a figure cast in stone. I am familiar with a financial advisor who says in his program, $1,000. Make sure you have $1,000 set aside, and that will take care of incidentals. It will take care of your car breakdown. It will take care of a quick medicine that you need for yourself, for the children. It will take care of the stove break off, the knobs break off, the buy some knobs, something like that.
Plumbing issues, because they'll seem to prop up every now and again.
the water just leaking off the place, you don't know where it's coming from. You got to pay the plumber comes in, he tells you, but you need this elbow and you need that thing and so on, this whole thing will cost you $400, just like that. That's an emergency.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So if you are saving on your mortgage, one thing you want to do first and foremost is to put that money into true emergency savings. Once you have that emergency savings, then the next thing you need to do is to ensure that in that savings money that you have on top of emergency, you pay attention to the house itself. Now, a lot of persons don't remember that once you come to own the house, you have expenses that go with it. Not just the simple plumbing, as you mentioned, emergency, but you have to maintain the house. So you must do a little painting in X or Y years. You must take care of the door handles, the hinges, which, tend to, and if you have children, I mean,
oh boy.
Again, they take care of the house in a certain way that makes your maintenance money. So if you are saving on your mortgage, you also want to ensure that you have the emergency, but you also have your house maintenance money there. Now, property taxes is another thing that you have to make sure that you're putting aside money for. So you want to have those monies there. Now, in some mortgage loans, the mortgage lender already boils up inside the amount of money that you have to put aside every month that they hold back from you or receive from your salary every month. They make sure that there's a portion for the insurance of the property, because, the insurance is for a whole year, but you have to pay it at one time, and it's an anniversary. So you save up that money every month so that when the anniversary comes, you're not going to look to your family or look to the same bank to get some money to pay that insurance. It must be insured. So you would want to insure the house as well. So those are the things you would want to do. That's how that's how we think in handling the money. So we come back now to the 50-30-20 sort of budget rule. And so that savings is not even in the 20%. That savings is in the 50%, because it's essential that you have that money to pay the interest, to pay the insurance, to pay the taxes on the property as well. In addition to the money that you pay in the bank every month, you should be saving every month so that you can comfortably pay the insurance when that time comes around.
All right, we only have a few minutes left, but something that you said earlier made me want to ask this next question. Is it better to buy property or rent property? I hear this debate all the time. I remember hearing one person say, it's better to rent. And I'm like, but if you have your own, it's still yours. So I didn't agree with him. What do you think?
Right. Let's agree on one little thing, that I'll give you a short answer now, and we could come back and discuss that at another program.
Okay.
But buying or renting indeed is a big subject. Now, if you rent, you don't have the ownership at no time at all, neither now nor in the future. So what you are doing is you're actually paying the landlord, and the landlord, you're paying him for use of the property. The landlord now takes care of all the things that I was mentioning earlier, like your maintenance and your taxes and your insurance and so on, all those additional things, and your incidental, if an emergency come up, depending on what it is, your landlord has to take care of it. If you own the property, you have to take care of all of this. And you have to take care of the tax, the insurance, and so on. And you have to take care of the maintenance. If you have a mortgage, then in addition to the mortgage, you're taking care of those things. So what you think about when you're thinking of owning and buying is you own, you have the peace of mind that no landlord can come to
and throw you out. Well,
ask you to leave
for
whatever reason they have, yes. You also don't have the problem that inflation going up and this man want to raise the rent. So you don't have that problem of rent being increased on you. Neither now nor in the future, because you own the property. So, in that sort of peace of mind makes it better to own the property than to be renting the property. But that's like a nutshell of things, and there are so many other things we could speak about in terms of the difference between owning and renting. I should tell you, Sharon, that for some people, renting is better than purchasing. For some situations, purchasing is far better than, and owning is far better than renting. But if you're in a position where you're debating it right now and you say early in life, it's a good thing to save so that when you purchase, you can purchase for a shorter time. You can purchase with a mortgage for a shorter time. You can purchase with a mortgage where you are paying more on your principal per month, and your down payment, you save in so that your down payment make you to borrow an affordable mortgage loan.
All right. Another great program, Mr. Francis. Thank you so much for joining us. And for you, our listeners, as well, for joining us. And those online on social media, on our Facebook and YouTube platforms, thank you for joining us as well. We will meet you right back here on Wednesday, so that's next Wednesday morning, from 10:15 until 10:45 with Mr. Francis and Money Matters. Any ideas as to what we're discussing next week, so you can give them a little bit of a heads up?
I like the buy or rent question, and so maybe I'll take a look at that. But we will still be talking mortgage, and so we will do either buy or rent, or we will do home repairs. Savings on home repairs, or should we buy or rent, or we will merge them together. We have 30 minutes, don't we?
Yes, we do. We could
you know, some people are very afraid of mortgages. There are some people afraid of mortgages.
I mean, honestly, rightfully so. Rightfully so.
But you don't have to be. Communicate with your lender, communicate with the bank, and you will be good.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. We look forward to hearing from you next week.
Thank you.
This program is brought to you by the Bank of Nevis.
Have you heard? Owning your very own special piece of St. Kitts and Nevis has never been easier. The Bank of Nevis Limited is currently offering 100% financing with up to 15 years to repay at a competitive low interest rate. Additionally, a Visa credit card to make your day-to-day shopping needs easier. Contact us by phone or call into any one of our branches today. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Bond strong. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Offer ends on June 30th, 2022.
Welcome to Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. Today is Wednesday, May 4, 2022, and I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. It is just 5 minutes past the hour of 11 here in the studios of WinFM 98.9, and you are tuned into Voices for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this program. Of course, you can catch us on Facebook at Win Media SKN, Facebook, YouTube, and our other social media handles, Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we will be speaking on the recent developments coming out of the British Virgin Islands with the arrest of the island's premier and the director of their port authority. They, of course, most of you by now would know some background information in terms of what has been going on in the BVI, the arrest of their premier, on allegations of money laundering and drug trafficking. And so today we have here joining the program Mr. Ron Grant, a journalist there in the BVI with 284 Media, and he will be updating us on the recent developments there and providing us with some, feedback on what's happening on the ground and what the response has been like from the Virgin Islanders, and how are they responding to this news of their premier being arrested on these serious allegations. Of course, many people have voiced their opinion on this development in the BVI. And, for the most part, people are at shock. People are, in disbelief that this has really happened. So today we are here to have a conversation on that. Of course, we are going to want to hear from you later on in the program. And so if you wish to participate, you can call us at 466-0989 or 762-0989. And our WhatsApp number is 662 2204 662-2204. So welcome to Voices. Let me check with Mr. Grant. Good morning. Ron, can you hear me? Okay, we have him on. Yes, he's hearing me. Just unmute your mic on your end and we should be good to go.
Hi, Devon. Good morning to you and good morning to the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. And thank you so much for accepting the invitation to come here on Voices today. We'll be here up until 12 noon, where we break for the headline news. But generally, it's just to have a conversation on the recent developments in the BVI and what is the feedback like from persons in the BVI. What are they saying on this news of their premier being arrested? Of course, we have some, I would say, news or latest developments where the premier requested immunity. We also saw a statement from CARICOM with regards to this matter. So a lot really has been happening over the past few days. Ron, what can you tell us, based on your interaction with people in the BVI? What is the feedback like, and how are people responding to this news of the arrest of Andrew Foy?
Well, Devon, as you mentioned, quite a bit has been going on in the territory of the Virgin Islands, of course, dating back to last Thursday, where our Premier, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, along with the Director of Ports, Mrs. Oveline Maynard, were arrested and detained on charges to conspire to travel and bring back cocaine to the Virgin Islands, as well as money laundering. And since then, of course, as you would imagine, the news across the territory of the VA and by extension the region, the Caribbean region, and on the international front has been one of shock. I can tell you honestly and unequivocally, the people of the BVI are hurt. They are embarrassed. They are ashamed, to say the least. I would say, however, that with that being said, I believe we are moving to a point as a territory where we are ready to move past the happenings. As you mentioned, a lot has happened. The premier, of course, still being detained. We have the acting premier, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, who was acting at this time. And I know several meetings on the highest levels and community levels have been taking place. we recently protested and demonstrated in front of Government House just yesterday, as it pertains to, I'm sorry, on Tuesday, where Amanda Milling, who is the UK representative, is here on the ground having meetings with a number of stakeholders. And the people essentially are saying no to UK rule. Of course, recommendations that have been brought about by the COI. But on the front of the Premier and the activities that have transpired, definitely hurt, embarrassment, shame. But as I said, I believe at this point, with all that is taking place additionally, the BVI people are, while they are still feeling the effects of it and will continue to feel the effects of the Premier and his actions, along with the port, the alleged actions, that is, are ready to move forward and fight for essentially our country.
Right. What has the feedback been in terms of the protest that you guys had on Tuesday? I saw some photos and heard some videos as well. But what has the feedback been with that? And do you know of any further plans to have demonstrations or protests in the near future?
I do believe that this is not the first protest and demonstration that we will see in the Virgin Islands. As it pertains to the response, we had everyone from cabinet members and House of Assembly members to children being a part of the demonstration. I would not say that it represented a large populace of the Virgin Islands, but it was well supported. And you saw pretty much everyone from a different demographic. You had expatriates there who have been living in the territory for quite some time. And they too rallied for support in the demonstration. So I would say for the first demonstration, it was a success. People came out in numbers, and you could definitely get a sense of aggression, frustration, anger. The Virgin Islands people have always been resilient people, but I think moreover in this instance, you definitely saw the heightened level of fight that was seen on Tuesday morning in front of Government House.
All right. So I'm reading in the latest news here that the Premier Andrew Foy, his request for diplomatic immunity was denied. What can you tell us on that?
Well, you are correct, Devon. The Premier Andrew Foy, his request for diplomatic immunity has been denied by the United States District Court, Southern District of Florida. The final decision on that has not actually come out. What the DEA is saying is that they're rejecting it, but the final confirmation of whether or not it would be accepted or not has not confirmed. But for now, they are essentially saying that it is not possible and they do not support it. Of course, what essentially happening is being a diplomat and him feeling as though he had diplomatic immunity. It appears really that the claim is based on a statement in the affidavit that the defendant was essentially the Premier of the Virgin Islands, and he said that because of that, a head of state immunity. Now, in that, they really said that is notice of invocation of all rights and to immunity under the international and domestic laws as the duly elected and sitting head of government of the Virgin Islands, a British overseas territory, of course, including but not limited to immunity from arrest and detention, entitling him to immediate and uncontrolled release from the detention by the United States. And essentially what they're saying is the United States does not recognize the British Virgin Islands as a sovereignty. So his claims are essentially being rejected, but officially have not been denied.
Wow, this is breaking news coming out of the British Virgin Islands. Let me say good morning to those of you who have joined us here on Voices on 1FM 98.9. We have here on the call with us today Ron Grant out of the BVI. He's a journalist there, and he is providing us with, an update on the latest developments in the British Virgin Islands following the arrest of the island's premier on allegations of money laundering, drug trafficking, and that of the director of their port authority there. I also saw some news, Ron, that the Speaker of the House of Assembly has tendered his resignation. What can you say on that?
That is absolutely correct, Devon. Yesterday, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, formerly the Honorable Julian Willard, tendered his resignation as Speaker of the House upon the request of Acting Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley. Of course, he had refrained from stating stuff. He did say that publicly he will be sharing his sentiments, but that is the latest development. He has officially resigned. Another speaker, of course, is expected to be appointed in his absence. The Honorable Neville Smith, who is the Deputy Speaker of the House, is acting in his position, but that is confirmed. It is official. Our Speaker, formerly Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Honorable Julian Willock, has resigned. Of course, it is expected that more of that will come. Whether or not it will be coming within the forthcoming days, we do have confirmation from across the board that a number of shifts are being done in an effort essentially for the government of the Virgin Islands to do their best within the negotiations to avoid direct rule. And I believe this is one of the first steps we're seeing in an effort to really show the UK that the territory and the government, present government, is capable of running the affairs of the territory.
All right, it is 15 minutes past the hour of 11 here in the studios of 1FM 98.9. We'll take this break to give a shout out to our sponsors, and when we come back, we will continue Voices right here on 1FM 98.9. Let's take this break, and we will be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
Everything you want, everything you need, got the taste you love, anywhere that you may be, is the Caribbean flavor. Shirley biscuits make me happy.
Shirley got it all about the flavor. Shirley never let me down. When I lime it at the beach on the town, Shirley biscuits always feel like home.
Everything you want, everything you need, got the taste you love, anywhere that you may be, is the Caribbean flavor. Shirley biscuits make me happy.
Shirley, the Caribbean's favorite biscuit.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to Voices here on 1FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Those of you who have joined via social media, our platforms, Win Media SKN on Facebook, and our YouTube channel, which is also Win Media SKN. Of course, we have on the program with us today Mr. Ron Grant, a journalist out of the British Virgin Islands, and we are entertaining a conversation on the recent developments in the BVI following the arrest of the island's premier. Of course, this has sent shockwaves across the Caribbean region, with, of course, many people weighing in on this news. Of course, when we heard of it last week, it was really shocking. And of course, I would say that for the most part, many people are still in disbelief. But of course, as it continues to develop, we will continue to follow and see how this goes. We understand that the Premier requested his attorneys, that is, requested diplomatic immunity, and that has since been denied. I came across an article from a news outlet out of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and in the article they have that Foy may have a good reason not to resign. I don't think he has resigned as yet, right, Ron?
That is correct. He has not resigned.
Right, he has not resigned as yet.
The interim and, of course, the body, the Congress of the Virgin Islands Party has requested that he resign. His colleagues, upon the members of the opposition, have also requested that out of respect for the territory of the Virgin Islands, he resigns, but that is yet to happen.
Mm-hmm. And his resignation would be in his own wisdom and judgment if he decides to resign.
That is correct.
Wow.
He has, however, a new chairman within the Congress of the Virgin Islands Party. A new chairman has been elected, giving way for Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley to preside as premier of the territory.
All right, yes, because the latest story that I got from the BVI was that he is still holding the position, but perhaps over the next few days we may see a resignation coming from Foy. In terms of the request that was denied for his diplomatic immunity, the United States government is not recognizing the BVI as a sovereign state, and so that was perhaps on the grounds, that is why his request for diplomatic immunity was denied. It says here that he has asserted that U.S. federal courts have no right to detain or prosecute him for alleged cocaine smuggling and money laundering because he is the British Virgin Islands head of state, according to a brief filed Monday. Now, his lawyers, as Foy's lawyers based in Florida, claimed such immunity is codified in international and domestic law and demanded his immediate release from detention. Legal experts reached Tuesday, however, said the assertion is on shaky footing. Head of state had generally given immunity as a diplomatic courtesy to avoid countries indicting each other's leaders back and forth. But it said that this area of international and domestic law is exceedingly complicated and filled with unique and often politically tinged precedents. So that is just some background information on the request that was denied for his diplomatic immunity. Now, Ron, I'm not sure if you've seen the statement coming from CARICOM, but he says here that Caribbean states won against direct rule of the British Virgin Islands. Have you?
Absolutely. I have seen and come across these statements from CARICOM. In addition to that, the Turks and Caicos Islands have said and encouraged the Virgin Islands and supported us in the quest to not agree with direct rule. I have seen both statements.
Mm-hmm. The statement, for those who have not heard the statement or seen it, it says 7 Caribbean states have condemned as retrograde the potential imposition of direct rule from London on the British Virgin Islands BVI amid allegations of corruption and the arrest of the former BVI premier last week in a drug smuggling sting operation. It says the British Foreign Office Minister Amanda Milling was greeted with street protests on Monday as she met BVI politicians and civil society to discuss the possible move to press ahead with a direct rule as recommended by a Commission of Inquiry report last week. The commission, headed by a retired British judge, Sir Gary Hickenbottom, found that corruption and misgovernment was so rife that a partial suspension of the Constitution and closure of the National Assembly for 2 years was required. But the proposal has been firmly opposed by BVI politicians, including the acting premier, Natalia Wheatley, who took office after his predecessor, Andrew Foy, was arrested on drug-running charges in Miami last week. It says on Tuesday, the 7-strong Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, issued a firm warning against the move, saying in a statement, quote, "It is ill-advised to impose direct colonial rule, and the history of such imposition in the Caribbean has never delivered the desired result." The OECS concurs with the elected representatives of the people of the BVI that abolition of Parliament with direct rule from London represents a retrograde step in the evolution of the democratic process that is inconsistent with the United Nations Proclamation of Human Rights to be free of colonial rule. It says the historical responsibility for strengthening governance in the BVI must rest on the shoulders of the elected representatives and the people of the BVI themselves. That ultimately will be the guarantee of good governance and full, transparent, and accountability. The UN Declaration on Granting Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, Resolution 1514 of 1960, is an international commitment to which Britain itself is bound. So this is the statement from the Caribbean community, basically not in support of direct rule of the British Virgin Islands. Of course, they had
Devon, if
Sure.
I may, one of the things that is very important as we continue to really take a look at the events, one of the things that I think the UK needs to consistently take a look at is their messaging. Meaning, of course, we have saw the exact same thing happen to the Turks and Caicos, but are they essentially saying to other countries like Montserrat and others who are under their leadership, is this the only way the UK direct rule, is this the only way they see fit and able to essentially fix systemic problems that are happening across the region? I do think that countries across the region are, of course, paying keen attention, and it has to beckon the question if they feel this is the only way they could handle situations of such.
Right, and I'm also seeing some pushback from some people in the BVI. Basically, what you have said in terms of they recommending that the Constitution be suspended and there being direct rule from the BVI. That is indicating to the BVI that they are unable to manage and run the affairs of the BVI. But of course, this is something that we will be following very closely and see how it will go. But based on your point, Ron, what can you say? Well, I don't want to ask you to predict, but based on your position, what can you say would happen in the next coming days in terms of this development of the British wanting to have direct rule over the BVI, and of course with the Premier's resignation?
Well, as you said, I cannot predict, but I
Right.
do believe strongly that negotiations will continue between the government of the Virgin Islands and the United Kingdom. I believe so far, based on statements received from our elected officials, that they feel that the negotiations are going well and they're progressing. That does allow for a beacon of light, a beacon of hope, and some level of light at the end of the tunnel. Of course, we do not know what the final outcome will be. I do believe, however, as we continue to watch the happenings, of course, Devon, I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to see and read the affidavit coming out of the district attorney's office, of course, the DEA, in the United States, but they're quite daunting. When you read the affidavit, that of Premier Foy and Mrs. Ovaline Maynard, it really begs the question. It opens doors for a lot of situations that have took place. He was quite vocal and expressive in sharing that this is not his first rodeo. He spoke in extent about having ties with witches and using quite a bit of the money for political favors and elections. So I do think that as we continue to watch the happenings, more will come forth. But thus far, what we have been reading, what we have been receiving, which are direct transcripts from audio with the undercover agents, they are by far absolutely daunting, shocking, and I do believe that we will continue to see and learn more about exactly what took place over the past few months, and by extension, a number of years.
Wow.
As it pertains to his resignation, I think many people in the Virgin Islands are hoping that he would, again, out of respect for the territory, submit his resignation. But again, we cannot control that. I do believe that his party, which he led, the Virgin Islands Party, that Congress seems to have quite a solid foundation. They have quickly been able to support the acting premier, and they are said to be able to expected to be making more moves internally to kind of shift and essentially rid the party and the government of anything or anyone that may be of hindrance in the opportunity to avoid UK rule.
Wow. No, I wanted to ask you, Ron, now looking at the other parties involved in this allegation of money laundering and drug trafficking, Olivine Maynard, I think, and her son, Kadeem Maynard, as she was the managing director, I believe, or the director
of Ports Authority. That's correct.
Of the Port Authority there in the BVI. As you're underground, has there been any changes in operations at that port?
To be honest with you, no. There have not been any announcements of an appointment. We do, of course, have a deputy chairman who we would assume is continuing to manage the functions of the BVI Ports Authority, but no official announcement from that office, no official announcement from the representatives or government officials on what exactly is being done or measures taking place at the BVI Ports Authority with the recent allegations that have been brought forward to the port director. So absolutely no statements to date on the BVI Ports Authority and the running of that institution.
And has there been any investigation opened on any, not just the Port Authority, but any other department or ministry related to the operations there?
A number of persons, a number of government offices were named in the COI. That is as far as we know as it pertains to investigations. Criminal investigations, no, I cannot confirm that any criminal investigations have been opened on any of the statutory bodies or government institutions like the port in the British Virgin Islands.
All right. We'll take this break to give a shout out to our sponsors. And when we come back, we will continue Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm on the line with Ron Grant out of the BVI. He is a journalist there, and he's providing an update on some of the recent developments coming out of the BVI following the arrest of the island's premier on allegations of money laundering and drug trafficking. We'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll continue Voices for today.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
Shopping with TDC just got much easier. Here's how. Log on to shoptdcgroup.com. Shop at your convenience at any time, from anywhere, with your smartphone, tablet, or computer. With our safe and secure payment checkout, you choose the option to pick up in-store or have your goods delivered right to your door. It's that easy. Shop tdcgroup.com, your one-stop online store.
Shop anywhere, shop anytime, same quality you love. Now online. Shop
www.shoptdcgroup.com.
Welcome back to Voices right here on 1FM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. It is 11:35 here in the studios of 1FM 98.9. For those of you who are just joining the program, we have on the call with us Mr. Ron Grant out of the British Virgin Islands, and we're having a conversation on the recent developments there following the arrest of the island's premier on allegations of money laundering and drug trafficking. Thank you so much for joining us on this program today. And again, Ron, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be here. Now,
Devon, one of the things I want to pinpoint before you go, we are all one Caribbean people. We are joined essentially by the hip. There is no person throughout the Caribbean who cannot make a connection of any sort to a Caribbean island, whether it be their history and heritage. I'm a product of the St. Kitts and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Essentially, I would say that my navel string, of course, is in Nevis, as my dad is a Division, my mom is a Kittitian. So I think essentially what we should remember as one Caribbean people is that we are our brother's keeper. We are and should be rather our brother's keeper. And essentially, when you look at how closely knit we are, we should make it our business to support and wish each other the best. One thing I do want to make sure is very clear to the general public, Devon, is that the opposition really came from the DEA, the opposition to the request by Premier Foy to request immunity. And as I mentioned before, it is rumored that it will be denied, but it has not officially been denied. What we saw was the opposition to his request and not the actual decision. So I just want to make sure the viewing audience understands that aspect.
Right, and thank you so much for providing that clarity. But as you mentioned that, though, in terms of the with his request for diplomatic immunity, what are people on the ground saying with regards to that? What is the feedback like? Are they in support of him being released, or do they take the position that he should remain in custody?
That's a great question. I do believe that there are mixed emotions by residents who, again, are still shocked, hurt, and embarrassed. You have many persons who I think may not understand the way the law works and the inner happenings, are of the opinion that he should be granted direct immunity. I think many of them are still expecting also, even in a bail application, we do not know what will become of that, but many of them are still expecting and hoping rather that he would be granted bail. I think holistically, surprisingly as well, many of them feel that the premier will be returning home shortly. While you have others who do not support, they are angry and they do feel as though what is happening is warranted. So it's mixed emotions. I think when you have a leader who, like himself, has stayed very much connected to the people. The Virgin Islands is extremely family oriented. When you think of a population of 30,000, just 25 square miles, it is an extremely close-knit community, and persons of all levels are significantly impacted, affected by this. When you go throughout the roads and you speak to the people, I mean, essentially last week, many of them told you plain out they didn't sleep, and they still can't sleep. It has affected this territory in such a significant magnitude that I believe if we don't holistically set ourselves apart and move forward, we will continue to see a digress. But as I said earlier, people, I believe, more so are essentially hoping that they can move forward. But it has significantly impacted the emotional being of many residents, whether they were supporters of the premier or not. It has truly just really struck an emotional chord with residents.
Mm-hmm. Would you say, from your position, would you say that people would be outraged if he returns to the BVI and were to continue serving as premier?
In my opinion, in having interacted and spent time on a lot of time on the road, I do believe that they would be shocked, they would be disappointed, and they would perhaps even make a serious stance if that were to happen.
Right, and I guess I can take that position as well based on what I've seen on social media. Many people, are not in support of him continuing as the island's premier and of the view that he should tender his resignation. But as we're on this topic, over the past few days and perhaps but immediately after the arrest of the island's premier and Miss Maynard and her son, I'm pretty sure, Ron, that you've seen some media outlets across the region and in the United States painting the Caribbean with a broad brush of corruption, specifically the BVI. From your position as someone who lives in the BVI, what impact do you think this would have on the tourism, on business, on, just how things operate in the BVI?
Devon, I'm so glad that you answered that question, and I want to backpedal a bit. Our former governor, Augustus J.U. Jaspert, who essentially was the one that called the COI under his tenure, I would never forget during a press conference under his tenure, sitting with the former police commissioner, Mike Matthews, what the former governor said really affected and blatantly affected the people of the Virgin Islands. What he said essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, was that there was corruption in high places and the highest places of office. And he furthermore questioned where the people of the British Virgin Islands was getting all of this money to build these big, lavish homes. Now, I will be very honest with you as a son of the soil, born and raised in the British Virgin Islands, someone who has spent time abroad and hence returned to serve my territory. I do believe that the sentiments I'm about to express are also the sentiments of the people of the Virgin Islands. We have and will always be hardworking, determined, resilient people. You have persons in this territory who have worked and spent their entire lives, building their families, educating their children, literally from nothing. And for persons to assume and come up with the notion that the entire British Virgin Islands is corrupt based on certain allegations, and perhaps particularly now even more, is daunting. We, the people of the British Virgin Islands, are honest people. We are hardworking people, and the actions by the Premier do not reflect that of the entire British Virgin Islands population. With that being said, I do think the notion and the word, just that word of corruption that has been looming across the region and internationally, will have, unfortunately, some ramifications. Unfortunately, two of our main economic pillars being tourism and that of the financial services. Having discussions already with persons in the offshore banking and financial services industry, they have continued to do a number of damage control. Every director, every manager at our trust companies have been on the phone, really solidifying and speaking to our clients across the world that we are not corrupt. With that being said, unfortunately, and you hope that this would not happen, but I do feel that we will see a bit of a pushback as it pertains to financial services. And I think holistically, when we look at continuing the hard work and the legacy of the Virgin Islands, that essentially is the biggest threat. When it comes to tourism, I personally don't feel that that would be affected much. I could be wrong. I do believe that we are still a beautiful nation. We are still a hospitable people. And I do think that at the end of the day, the persons that want to come and enjoy our territory and visit and have a good time, if they really want to, then they will absolutely do that.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Ron. Following on the internet and social media and seeing what has been really said, not just about the BVI but about the Caribbean. I think there is a lot of work to do in terms of us maintaining that. Yes, this happened with the island's premier, or this happened in the past. This does not reflect what the Caribbean or the BVI is about. And I love that you mentioned earlier that definitely we are one people. We are all related one way or the other. And what we've seen from this statement from CARICOM is that CARICOM, the entire Caribbean community, stands with the people of the British Virgin Islands during, I would say, this very difficult time, with the arrest of the Premier and Miss Maynard, who is the director or the managing director for the Port Authority, and her son. Ron, we have about 15 minutes left before we wrap up this program here on WinFM 98.9. Again, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Do you have anything else that you would like to share with the listening audience?
Well, Devon, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and most importantly, thank you, the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, for your listening ear. As mentioned, this is a situation that has affected not only the territory, but regionally as well. As you know, the BVI is filled with St. Kitts and Nevis nationals who have made this country their home, and I do think it has affected them as well. What I would really like to encourage the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to do, and you've been hearing it quite a bit, is really hold the people of this territory in your hearts and prayers as we continue to traverse through these very difficult times. Of course, being everyone may not be of the same religious background, but we have always prided ourselves across the region in being a Christian society, particularly here in the Virgin Islands. And I think for the well-being of each of our people, our family, our friends, if you do nothing else, keep and hold the people of the BVI in your hearts and prayers. And I want to thank you guys for your overwhelming support. If I tell you how many messages and calls that I've gotten from colleagues and friends over in the Federation, just sometimes simply asking whether or not I ate. Did you have something to eat? Are you okay? Because the mood and the pressure on the island is by far the most tense that it has ever been. We were essentially preparing for an election, maybe even a snap election, and now we are literally fighting for our country. So it is quite intense. There is a heaviness ever since the happenings of last week. There have been literal clouds over the Virgin Islands, heavy, sometimes not even raining, just a dark pouring and feeling and sense of hurt. I do believe, though, that with hopes we will continue to traverse and be resilient and move forward, of course, with all things holding on to a territory that we have worked so immensely hard for. So thank you, and thank you to the people of the Federation of St. Kitts for this opportunity.
All right, and thank you so much again, Ron, for accepting the invitation to join us here on WinFM 98.9. I'll wrap up the interview now, and we'll catch up at a later time. But again, thank you so much, and we will continue to follow the developments there in the British Virgin Islands, and of course, we will keep the people of the BVI in our thoughts and prayers during this very difficult time. Time of, I would say, uncertainty. Again, thank you so much, and you take care.
All right, you too. Be sure to give me a call anytime. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. You were just listening to an interview with Ron Grant, a journalist out of the British Virgin Islands, and he was providing an update basically on the recent developments coming out of that territory following the arrest of the island's premier on allegations of money laundering and drug trafficking. Thank you so much for joining us on the first hour of Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. We have about 12 minutes left, so we'll take some calls for the listeners to give their take on the recent developments that are coming out of the BVI. Of course, we break at 12 for the headline news, and when we come back, we'll continue the Voices program right here on WinFM 98.9. But definitely, as you heard from Mr. Grant, this has really, sent shockwaves to the Caribbean, and many people have been weighing in on this recent development coming out of the BVI. I think for the most part, people, are raising their eyebrows or wondering, well, are we going to see any more of these arrests being made across the Caribbean? I think that is a legitimate question because, with this happening, it would tell us that no one is above the law. It does not matter your position in society. No one is above the law. But we definitely stand with the people of the British Virgin Islands, as I would assume that, and based on what Mr. Grant has said, that they are facing a very difficult time. Of course, more than likely, this would have a very negative impact on how they do business in the BVI, on their financial services sector, on their tourism industry. Generally, people are going to want to refer to them, as, being corrupt, and generally the Caribbean, as most of you have seen on social media already, that, the Caribbean is being painted with a broad brush, that we're all corrupt and we're into, bad business, when that is not the case. That is definitely not the case. The phone lines are open. Call us at 466-0989 or 762-0989. You can also leave a comment on the live stream, live on Facebook at Win Media SKN, and you can also check out our YouTube channel, which is Win Media SKN as well. And the WhatsApp number is 662-2204, 662-2204, and the numbers are 466-0989 or 762-0989. For those of you who have just joined us and you have not heard of the statement coming from the CARICOM, I'll just read it again one last time. So it says 7 Caribbean states have condemned as retrograde the potential imposition of direct rule from London on the British Virgin Islands. Let me hold that, and I'll take the first call for this morning. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, hello, good morning. Something was bugging me, and that I thought that part of history, I could be stand corrected, but part of history, I was told that the British Virgin Islands, and the reason why they are not independent, because yes, they belong to Britain, but not just belong to Britain. The British Virgin Islands was supposed to be a gift given to the Queen. So that is one of the reasons why they are not independent. I don't know for sure, but I stand to be corrected. But I want to believe that's the situation. So at any time, one thing's not going right there, England could just take over. That is just a thought that I had.
All right. Thank you, caller, for your contribution to this program. We'll still taking your calls here on Voices on Win FM 98.9. Call us at 466-0989 or 762-0989. Just a few minutes before we break at 12 for the headline news. If we have no more calls, we'll take this break quickly, and when we come back, we will begin wrapping up this program. Let's take this break, and we will be right back.
Found the sound 98.9 Win FM.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
Enjoy the convenience of getting all your documents in one place. At the TDC Copy and Print Center on 4th Street in Basse-Terre, we do just that. We offer document formatting, graphic design, and copy and print services. Our team of professionals truly understand all your needs, whether it be administrative, professional, academic, or personal. You bring it, we deliver it with quality every time. Visit the TDC Copy and Print Center today in the TDC Mall on 4th Street in Basse-Terre or call 465-2511. Your copy and print specialists are waiting to serve you.
Campari Orange, easy fi win. Brother, he no hard it, easy fi win. Campari, he no cup, easy fi win. Brother, he no hard it, easy fi win. Add the Campari with your orange juice. That easy, bitter had the pre. Simple mixer, easy 1-3. Campari Orange, that easy fi win. Fi mix a Campari Orange, add 1 pot Campari with 3 parts orange juice. Drink at the bar, on the beach, or when your girl reach. Must be 18 years or older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Welcome back to Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. For those of you who are just joining us, we had Ron Grant, a journalist out of the BVI, providing an update on the recent developments there in the BVI. Let's take this last call before we wrap up at 12. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Cornelius. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thanks. And you?
Could I say something else other than what you have?
Sorry?
Could I say something else other than what you're talking about?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The Honorable Vance Amory was late to us on Saturday, right? What happened to the divisions? How come they didn't turn out?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
You wasn't there?
No, I didn't get a chance to attend either.
Oh, okay. I want to pick up Rodney. Outfit with Mr. Amory, all pictures of Mr. Amory.
Oh, yes, I saw the picture as well. She was a great supporter and fan and close friend of Mr. Amory. All right. Thank you, caller, so much for your contribution to this program. All right, we are basically out of time, so we have to break now for the headline news. And when we come back, we'll continue Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. For those of you who just joined the program, we had on today Mr. Ron Grant out of the BVI. He is a journalist there in that territory, and he was providing an update on the recent developments in the BVI following the arrest of the island's Premier Andrew Foy and the managing director for the Port Authority there, Olivine Maynard, and her son Kadim Maynard. They were arrested on allegations of money laundering and drug trafficking. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation right here on Voices. And I've been your host for the first hour, Devon Cornelius. Remember, you can participate in the program at calling 466-0989 or 762-0989. And of course, for those of you on WhatsApp, you can send us a message at 662-2204, 662-2204. Thank you so much for participating in the program today. We'll take this break, and when we come back, we will continue the conversation. I want to hear from you, your take on the recent developments they're coming out of the BVI, and whether you support the position taken by the London to have direct rule over the BVI, or whether you are, not in support of that happening. And also in terms of if the Premier Andrew Foy is to return to the BVI, if he is to take up or head back into the office of the Premier, is that something that you would support? I want to entertain a conversation on that when we come back to continue Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. We'll take this break, and when we come back, we will continue the conversation for today.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Stores Curbside Pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Stores Curbside Pickup Service.
Everything you want, everything you need.
98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that National Bank offers very favorable terms and low interest rate to switch your home mortgage? Our in-house legal department will process your mortgage in a jiffy and free of cost. Switch your home mortgage now and get a peace of mind knowing that we are here for you. National Bank, always here.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
That was the Win FM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
With the Win Headline News, I am Kevon Brown.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Making the headlines.
Rastafarian community welcomes possibility of new temple, calls for manifestation of promises made to them.
Agriculture Minister says current global trends continue to highlight vulnerabilities in food security. BVI's premier's notice of invocation of immunity denied. Haitian gang demanded US $500,000 ransom for Dominican Republic diplomat. And more from Carib Update. Internationally, the European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen has announced a new round of sanctions targeting Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, including a total ban on oil imports from Russia by the end of 2022. Now, the details.
Ras Iron, a member of the Rastafari Nyabingi Theocracy Order Church of His and Her Imperial Majesty, is skeptical that a new St. Kitts Nevis government will build a temple for Rastafarians. On Tuesday, April 26, leader of the People's Action Movement and Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean K. Richards, announced that a new administration driven by a joint collaboration between the People's Action Movement and the Concerned Citizens Movement will build a partnership with the Rastafarian community.
Our new agenda will also include a partnership with the Rastafarian community to offer land and assistance to build a temple for their worship and practice of their faith.
In an exclusive interview with WinFM on Tuesday, May 3, Ras Iron said, "Seeing is believing."
Here with the Honorable Minister spoke about erecting a temple. I mean, that is him as an individual speaking. You understand? And I can't say, you mean what he said until we see it happen. After we see it happen, then we could say, yes, he's one person, at least keep a promise.
Ras Iron expressed skepticism that the temple would actually be erected, recalling the legalization of marijuana and the Buckley's Uprising Monument as two very important matters that are yet to come to fruition. In addition, Ras Iron expressed that the religious group would love to have that new tabernacle erected, noting that they no longer want promises, but instead need to see the manifestation of the promises made. However, he stated that the Nyabingi Theocracy Order will welcome a meeting from the Honorable Sean K. Richards to discuss the way forward for the erection of the temple once it excludes politics. He declared that if Minister Richards ensures that the temple is built, he will definitely receive the accolades. Ras Iron shared that consultation should be had with the Rastafarian community, as there is a specific way that the Rastafarian temple has to be constructed.
Must be erected in the way how the ancestors set it out to be, you know what I mean, with the 12 pole, and each pole have a meaning, and you got 12 poles plus a center pole. So our tabernacle is erected is like more like a umbrella. You know how an umbrella is, right? You got your center pole and you got the whips them and everything, the covering, overing, and all that. That is something similar to how umbrella is. So our tabernacle is erected. The center pole represents His Imperial Majesty, which is our Savior, our God and King.
According to Ras Iron, the Rastafarian group has about 20 members that meet for worship. They previously worshipped at a temple which they erected at Mattingly Heights, but has since moved to the Irie Life Farm in Sandy Point. He mentioned that the group has faced challenges at Mattingly Heights, which includes road blockage from soil erosion and overgrown trees, which have prevented access to the temple. Ras Iron also noted that the Rastafarian group has sought assistance from the government in that regard, which they have not received. Ras Iron also mentioned that the Nyabingi Theocracy Order have had dialogue with the Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs in the past to provide opportunities for Rastafarians to have a church just as other religious groups.
Food security continues to be an absolute necessity and a global challenge, with supply chain issues starting during the height of the pandemic and now restrictions on fuel, wheat, and other goods as a result of economic strains and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
We continue to say that without the foundation of agriculture, our economy remains vulnerable,
said the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, Deputy Premier and Minister of Agriculture, on the 10th observance of the Nevis Island Administration's Agriculture Awareness Month.
We also recognize the current global trends of rising transportation costs, food production and distribution complications, and the hoarding of agricultural inputs by larger countries as a clear and present danger to our way of life. Our economic development model made us dependent on an efficient global trading system and less reliant on local suppliers. However, in times of great stress, our vulnerabilities are exposed.
The theme for this year's observance is fostering economic growth through innovation. The Minister of Agriculture says his ministry pledges to continue working with local farmers, agro-processors, and other stakeholders for food security. One way the ministry is continuing its work with stakeholders is through a land audit assessing land allocation to farmers.
Upon the conclusion of this land audit process, the department will undertake a land redistribution exercise with the view of further enhancing crop and livestock production here on the island of Nevis.
Other initiatives include a crop scheduling project to stop overproduction and underproduction throughout the year, and an animal census for better coordination of meat supply. Throughout Agriculture Awareness Month, the NIA will be hosting several workshops as part of its month of activities, including a workshop for backyard farmers on production without chemicals. The Department of Agriculture will also be distributing seedlings to farmers, samples, and sales throughout the month, and a ceremony to honor farmers. In regional news, yesterday, May 3rd, the Premier of the British Virgin Islands, Andrew Foy's request for diplomatic immunity was denied by the United States District Court, Southern District of Florida, according to several media outlets. BVI-based 284 News reported that the notice of invocation of immunity did not apply to the Premier. The Premier filed the notice because he was and is the Premier of the British Virgin Islands. The United States says it does not recognize the British Virgin Islands as a sovereign state, saying, quote, that description does not convey upon the defendant, head of state, immunity, or that Foy is entitled to any immunity from this prosecution. Accordingly, defendant does not and cannot enjoy immunity as head of state or government, end quote. The notice was filed on behalf of the Premier by his attorney on May 2nd. Premier Foy and Olivine Maynard are detained in Miami on conspiracy charges to import a controlled drug and money laundering. A pretrial detention hearing is set for today, May 4th. Haitian gang demanded US $500,000 ransom for Dominican Republic diplomat, and more from Carib Update.
In Haiti, the criminal gang of 400 Mawazo is demanding a US $500,000 ransom for the release of Carlos Guillen Tatis, the agricultural and commercial attaché of the Embassy of the Dominican Republic in Haiti. The diplomat was reported kidnapped on Friday while on his way to the Dominican Republic, where he had intended to spend the Labor Day weekend with his family. But the authorities said Guillen Tatis never crossed the border as planned and was not answering phone calls. In a diplomatic note, the Dominican Republic ambassador accredited to Haiti, Farouk Miguel Castillo, said the Haitian Ministry of Foreign Affairs had been informed of the kidnapping and, apart from filing a complaint, has made a request for the matter to be investigated by the Central Directorate of the Judicial Police in Haiti. Relatives said Guillen Tatis is diabetic and risks a diabetic coma or even death if he does not receive his daily supply of insulin. Antiguans and Barbudans could go to the poll in a few months, Prime Minister Gaston Brown said at a Labor Day rally Monday. Speculations have been rife that elections could be called before it is constitutionally due in 2023. At Monday's Labor Day rally held by the Antigua Trades and Labor Union and ruling Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, Gaston Brown gave the latest and most concrete hint that elections could be called within a matter of months.
We are months away from general elections, and I expect each of you to become advocates for this great institution. There's no time for you to sit back and look on. You need to defend this great institution and to promote this great institution. You need to protect us in every single medium.
Brown, who is also the ABLP leader, told party supporters that they have a responsibility to reward the government's performance by electing all of their 17 candidates.
You need capable people. You need experienced ministers to preside over the affairs of this country. Not people who are looking for Christmas to come, looking for Santa Claus, but individuals who are committed towards your empowerment.
This is the first time that the Antiguan and Barbudan Prime Minister put some sort of time to the election date. The main opposition United Progressive Party started its campaign a few months ago, preparing itself for what many believe would have been a snap election in the Twin Islands state.
We now bring you these international reports.
Let's bring you more now on the Western response to the continuing war here in Ukraine. And the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has been outlining the latest round of sanctions against Moscow. Now, that includes a ban on Russian oil imports by the end of this year. She said the aim is to put maximum pressure on Russia while minimizing the disruption to the European Union and to global energy markets.
Today, we will propose to ban all Russian oil from Europe. This will be a complete import ban on all Russian oil, seaborne and pipeline, crude and refined. We will make sure that we phase out Russian oil in an orderly fashion, so in a way that allows us and our partners to secure alternative supply routes and at the same time be very careful that we minimize the impact on the global market. And this is why we will phase out Russian supply of crude oil within 6 months and refined products by the end of the year.
Ursula von der Leyen, and she said it won't be easy. Let's go to our correspondent in Brussels, Bethany Bell. It definitely won't be easy for those countries which really rely on Russian oil. They include Hungary and Slovakia. Now, will they go along with these sanctions?
Well, we're waiting to hear what the response will be to these proposals by the European Commission. Up to now, as you say, Hungary has said it's firmly against fuel embargoes on Russian fuel. But so far, in an initial response to these proposals, which have to be discussed over the next few days, Hungary said it didn't see where its energy guarantees were in these proposals. What we are hearing from diplomatic sources is that there could be some kind of exemption for countries such as Hungary and Slovakia, which are so heavily dependent on Russian oil, that they perhaps would be exempted for another year or two. We're waiting to hear the details on that. But certainly, if these proposals are agreed to in the next few days, it would be seen as a real watershed in the EU's response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, and although that is oil, then there's also the question of what the EU does about gas imports as well.
Gas is a much trickier problem. The EU is very, very reliant on Russian gas, and that at the moment is not part of this package of sanctions that's on the table. And the oil question is going to be hard too. President von der Leyen said these sanctions wouldn't be easy. It's a question of countries now looking around for alternative supplies of oil, and oil prices have risen since her announcement. And the question is what that will mean for consumers buying petrol at the pumps, questions like jet fuel and things like that. And also there is the question of the aim of the sanctions, which is to reduce revenues to Russia. But if oil prices keep rising, so will Russia's fuel revenues.
And that is the big picture, really, isn't it, Bethany? Because the Ukrainians say, as long as Russia is making a lot of money, billions and billions of dollars every month from selling oil and gas, it's able to finance its war machine here in Ukraine.
And yes, this is the reason the EU says it's so crucial to impose certainly this oil embargo on Russia. They want to see that money reduced, but it is a long and complicated process, everybody admits, to wean Europe. And we're not talking about the rest of the world here, just Europe, off Russian oil. And eventually the hope is some countries, say like Poland, that they must also reduce the gas as well. But that is a much more complicated process. And for now, what they're trying to do is to see whether they can get this proposed oil embargo across the line in the next few days.
Now in China, after more than a month of strict lockdown, authorities in Shanghai are beginning to gradually ease COVID restrictions there. The number of new cases is falling, but thousands of people remain in government-run quarantine facilities. Robin Brandt reports from Shanghai, where he's still in lockdown.
It's taken more than a month, but now Shanghai's leaders think this outbreak is contained. So it's time for a mass cleanup. Disinfection by an army of workers, thousands of them, before a gradual opening up. But the brutal war against COVID has left a scarred city. People as old as 100 were among those tested positive and taken to quarantine centres. One man detailed what he saw firsthand on social media.
A lot of the old people have underlying health problems, and the conditions inside quarantine centers are not good. We hope the elderly can be sent to better hospitals.
In the 5 weeks I've been locked down, you can't step outside the gates. It's Shanghai's most vulnerable who've suffered the most. Almost all the official dead are elderly and unvaccinated. China's leaders insist that still chasing zero COVID is the right thing. The enforcement has been harsh at times. Some people barricaded into their homes or forced out of them. Communities fenced off. But Xi Jinping has made it clear there's no change. The man in charge of China's ruling Communist Party believes persistence is victory. This is now a test of China's way, of his credibility. One part of China has changed tack, though.
Well, in Hong Kong, we never did a total lockdown. Schools were closed, a lot of people were working from home, but it was by no means a lockdown. And my concern in Shanghai would be, how long can this go on? Because the case numbers are not going to come down to zero immediately. They're going to drop down slowly, but the whole thing could happen again in a month or 2 months or 3 months if there's another outbreak of Omicron.
Debate about living with it on the mainland has been shut down in public, though, and there's little room for dissent. This man was detained by police for simply showing his shopping, some pork donated by a neighbouring province. His crime highlighting the food supply problems. The government said this small-scale, subtle protest, banging pots in parts of Shanghai, is influenced by foreign forces. China's capital is now on guard against any spread. Most of this country has been virus-free now for almost 2 years. But as Omicron threatens, renewed anxiety is spreading. Robin Brandt, BBC News.
You were listening to the WinFM Headline News on 98.9. Our top stories were:
Rastafarian community welcomes possibility of new temple, calls for manifestation of promises made to them.
Agriculture Minister says current global trends continue to highlight vulnerabilities in food security. BVI's premier's notice of invocation of immunity denied. Haitian gang demanded US $500,000 ransom for Dominican Republic diplomat. And more from Carib Update. Internationally, the European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen has announced a new round of sanctions targeting Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, including a total ban on oil imports from Russia by the end of 2022. Thank you for listening.
That was the Win FM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that National Bank offers very favorable terms and low interest rate to switch your home mortgage? Our in-house legal department will process your mortgage in a jiffy and free of cost. Switch your home mortgage now and get a peace of mind knowing that we are here for you. National Bank, always here.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
busting savings happening now. Horsford's Automotive is busting loose. Huge door-busting discounts on all 2020 Nissan Urban 16-seater buses. Bust loose with as much as $25,000 off on all 2020 Nissan Urban 16-seaters. Yes, up to $25,000 off on all 2020 Nissan Urban 16-seater buses. But that's not all. Down payment busted. Absolutely no down payment. Payment on bill of sale busted. No payment on bill of sale. Payment on servicing for 12 months busted. Free servicing for 1 year. Buy groceries on gas for up to 3 months. Your choice. Busted. Your choice of absolutely free groceries or gas for 3 months. Payment on registration and licensing, tinting and accessories. All busted. That means they're totally free. Horsford Automotive is busting loose with its Bus a Move sales event on all 2020 Nissan Urban 16-seater buses. Bus a Move and get your new 2020 Nissan Urban 16-seater today for as much as $25,000 off. Bus a Move now at Horsford Automotive. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
And we're back with more voices right here on WinFM 98.9. It is 32 minutes past the hour of 12 in the studios of WinFM 98.9. And I'm your host for today's edition of Voices, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. If you missed the first hour, we were on with Mr. Ron Grant out of the BVI, and he was providing an update on the recent developments in the British Virgin Islands following the arrest of the island's premier and managing director for the Port Authority, along with her son. Welcome back to Voices here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. And the topic at hand is the developments coming out of the British Virgin Islands. Of course, last week, their Premier Andrew Foy and the director or managing director for the Port Authority and her son were arrested on allegations of money laundering and drug trafficking. Of course, this has sent shockwaves across the Caribbean region. And this is something that we are following very closely. Now, the latest news surrounding this development, I'm seeing here from the BVInews.com. It says that where the headline to this says that unity government on the horizon, acting premier to make statement later. It says acting premier Dr. Natalie Whitley has signaled an intention to move in the direction of a unified government involving members of the political opposition going forward. It says Dr. Whitley gave that indication in the House of Assembly Tuesday afternoon following the abrupt announcement by House Speaker Julian Willock that he intended to resign from that post. The acting premier mentioned the Commission of Inquiry COI report's recommendation for the United Kingdom to assume direct rule of the BVI, then said, quote, if we want to avoid that unwelcome consequence, first of all, we all have to look at ourselves. The acting premier called for a renewed commitment to the principles of democracy, good governance, accountability, and transparency. He said there was a need for everyone to recognize what they can do better to improve the BVI since everyone has a role to play. He said, I've had to look at myself and I've had to make some difficult conclusions. And we will not get past this moment if we are not willing to hold ourselves accountable. This is the latest coming out of the British Virgin Islands. We'll take some calls at 4660989 or 7620989 and to get your take on the recent developments there in the BVI, following the arrest of their premier, Andrew Foy, and the managing director for the Port Authority there, and her son, right here on Voices on 98.9. The phone lines are open. Of course, we have our WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204. That is 662-2204. We can also take your questions there. And, of course, I will be monitoring the Facebook and YouTube live streams to see what some of the comments are saying on that. Now, before we had break for the headline news at 12, there was a comment that was left earlier. Let me see if I could get back to it. The comment was basically saying that, yes, so we've always been, I'm trying to find it, I don't want to misquote the person, but basically they were speaking on the lines of, well, corruption has always been a thing that we've complained about in the Caribbean. I think the comment was suggesting why are there emotions on it? No? Okay. We have a caller on the line. Let's take this call. Okay, we lost that call. Let's take this other one. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
And I giving God thanks, you know.
All right.
Nothing surprised God and nothing surprised me. I hear you talking about, oh, we're so surprised. We're surprised that the matter was exposed abroad.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I meant, yeah.
Abroad. Because a lot of us not only know about it, a lot of us participate in it. So I don't think, you know, sometimes they say a man could thief, but he only thief until he get caught.
Mm.
But a lot of the thing is unfortunate. Do you know that the largest proportion of non-born people in the BI are from St. Kitts and Nevis?
I don't. How do you know that?
Oh, you don't?
No.
Or the census. If you look at the last census report,
Mm-hmm.
at one point I think it was 20% of Virgin Islanders, the BVI,
Mm-hmm.
they're from St. Kitts and Nevis.
All right.
Right? Oh, well, now you know, most of them are from St. Kitts and Nevis. You know, you would have some of the children and the grandchildren who say they're born there. But their roots are in St. Kitts and Nevis, because remember, the place was undeveloped, just like St. Thomas, undeveloped. until tourism begin to come. So our people used to go down there to fish, burn coals, grow crops and so. So down there really belong to us. So we have a stake in the matter. We are not just strangers looking in. Never, we are part of it. Fire, is an Anguilla name. I know a chap who came to grammar school here from Anguilla. They have some fire, but I think it's an Anguillian. So our people went there. Now, a lot of the issues. Now, I am glad for one thing. You see, there's a force make water go uphill. The last item you read about both parties coming together. Because they realize if the British take over, they have no chance to win no election for the next 2 years. And the British might do whatever they could to dissemble all political parties. So sometimes we learn too late. We spend more time destroying each other. Now, the government need the opposition to have a united voice.
Right.
And that is what we need often in our circumstances, a united voice.
But let me ask you this: Do you support the move by London to have direct rule over the BVI?
I don't think no self-respecting person would agree with that. See how I put it? If you know your colonial past, and by the way, did you know a similar thing existed in St. Kitts?
I
think it was 60 years. They first had representative election in 1937. No, I can be corrected whether it was 60 or 80 years. We had no say, The governor ran the country and he nominated people. In 1937 was the first time in decades that we had elected representatives. I suppose you did not know, but. And Thomas Manchester and Mr. Edgar Challenger were the first two local representatives who were elected. So they were able to speak in the House of Legislature. Otherwise, it was the planters and who the governor pick up, who passed all the rules. So that again, we had to struggle and fight. And even when it started in 1937, it was not until 1952 when everybody got a chance to vote. So our history is bound up with the years. We know what it is when we had no say. And even after we elected people, they still had no say. Because there were only 2 out of maybe the 12 or 13, whatever the governor nominated. So I understand the trauma. So if anybody know the history, you got to be ignorant to back up that in today's date. And even as the matter even came up with the USVI, according to the UN Charter, countries are not allowed to have colonies. You know that?
Yes, I did. I read that.
Yeah. So, but sometimes our leaders get so comfortable. And it is a warning to people in Montserrat, Anguilla, in Turks and Caicos and Cayman.
All right.
And Bermuda. Just like your mother used to say, a little hardship. You have a hardship at first, but things will improve.
All right.
You look at independence and you look impossible. But your parents struggled, and the Queen had advised that Anguilla be deserted, Maybe some Anguillan don't know. That they take them off the island, maybe bring them to St. Kitts. And the parents stuck it out with all the drought and nothing growing. And today they have an Anguilla. So any self-respecting person would not welcome it, even if you don't like the government.
Okay.
It is an affront because look at it. What it is the same set of people who ruled us before coming to tell us. So we don't have any ideas.
All right. Well, caller, thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution.
All right, then.
Yeah, you take care. We'll take this short break, and when we come back, we'll continue Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. Let's take this break, and we will be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsford's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsford's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsford's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Found the sound. 98.9.
Here are your Horsefords Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tax specials from May 5th through 18th. IGA peanut butter, just $8.99. IGA or Essential Everyday Microwave Popcorn, $5.99. Quaker Oats, regular and quick, $13.99. Philadelphia Cream Cheese, $12.99. Morning Star Meatless Entrees, $18.99. Suavitel Fabric Softener, $16.99. And now our very low weekly
value deals. IGA Essential Everyday Cornflakes, $7.99. Essential Everyday Barbecue Sauces, $6.99. Essential Everyday Ketchup, $4.49. Equaline Mouthwash, $13.99. Essential Everyday Apple Juice, $7.99. Arm & Hammer Liquid Detergent, $31.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart. Tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo. Y haga sus compras aquí a
Value Mart.
Welcome back to Voices here at 1FM 98.9. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for calling.
A little bit noisy down here where I'm at, but can you hear the feedback? Any noise in the feedback?
Yes, but I'm hearing you clearly enough, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The fire department is having the little drill, you know. It's a week of activities for them, so they in this local. But I could not help weighing on the matter at hand. And I just wish to pick it up from what Mrs. Henry said. And well said, Mrs. Henry. But there is a phenomenon that is taking place. Unless we forget, unless we be so short-sighted, and, you know, they say petitions and divisions has a 3-day syndrome, where we hear things, after 3 days we forget all about it. It's just recently the British, the monarch, persons of the royal visited the Caribbean. And even though they did not visit the BVI, although what we call the British Overseas Territories, I cannot help but to notice the phenomena is unstoppable, and somehow they are giving a futile effort. It's all in futility. They are trying to stop that phenomena. So here is it, yes. Given, bearing in mind, yes, corruption. Let's deal with the corruption part. How far would one go to eradicate corruption to say, well, suspend a constitution of it's the British Overseas Territory. To what? To erode all what the Constitution have in a futuristic Constitution? To implement measures what the Constitution says in like the near future going forward? And what would be the setback of suspending that Constitution? This is at stake. Bearing in mind, the underlying factor is the phenomenon. Barbados. Now we are here in Jamaica, the Belize, the Bahamas, Antigua and Barbuda. I think it's Nevis. We heard the Deputy Prime Minister, Sean Richards, spoke about becoming a republic. Then you would have heard it from St. Lucia, the other independent territories. And then what would have happened? The British territories would join in and so forth. So here is a futile effort, concerted effort on behalf of the British monarchy to say, well, now, we cannot afford to lose our paradise. We must have this playing ground, at least some, for us to come down. Yes, they are welcome to come down. Who said we don't welcome our visitors? We do welcome our visitors. But for some reason, the phenomena that is taking place, they are giving a futile effort to try to stop it. And so we want to lend solidarity, lend support with the persons in the British Virgin Isles. We hope they can collectively in Parliament have a unity, construct a unity, unanimous, both on the governing side and the opposition benches, to say no. We're not sovereign in the sense that we are independent, but we are a people that can assert that, because one point in time, I think it's the nearest, we were there, and other independent or republic were there. So let us give our sisters and brothers in the British Virgin Islands, Mrs. Henry mentioned, Anguilla and Montserrat and Turks and Caicos Islands and Bermuda. Let us give our support to them. Come on board. It's a train that no one's supposed to be missed. Because after all, we have Kitishan, Nivision blood in Anguilla likewise. We are one people. I did not know where my mother's mother, a sister, was dropped off on any one of these British territories. They decided to divide us and rule us, so my mother ended up here. Who knows where my sisters ended up, on which one of those British territories.
All right.
So we have to see things in that holistic way. Thanks for listening.
And thank you for your contribution to this program, caller. We're still taking your calls here on WinFM 98.9. Call us at 4660989 or 7620989. Of course, we have our WhatsApp number, 662-2204. That is 662-2204. Yes, there were some other comments on the live stream. I lost the comment, but the comment basically was talking, in relation to the first part of the interview in terms of corruption in the Caribbean, where, we have always talked about corruption in the Caribbean, or complained about corruption in the Caribbean. And so this is nothing new. And as the previous caller mentioned, in terms of being shocked, not necessarily being shocked that this happened, but, of course, this escalating, I guess nobody really saw this escalating so quickly, to the point where it is right now. But one would agree that this is developing really, really, really fast, and a lot is really happening. And it's kind of hard to, it's kind of hard to keep up with all that is happening. Let's head back to the phone lines. We'll take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius. How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
Well, I'm just here logging in. What is the debate? The debate is what? Tatola again? What are we talking about?
In the BVI, yeah. We had on earlier a journalist from the BVI. He was providing an update on the recent developments there. They had a protest there on Tuesday against the British having direct rule over the BVI and generally, corruption across the Caribbean.
My brother, wasn't we speaking in this country about corruption and what's going on in the BVI? Didn't we call out Lindsey Grant name with the Marriott? Why we like to run to people problem? We had Lindsey Grant who went to the Marriott, my brother. The evidence is there. Sit down with a man who was willing to sell the land and put the money in the offshore account. And he said it at a public meeting, not me. He said he bought with a gold spoon in his mouth and he tell the man, step it up. Not me. That was his word at a public meeting. And when the 5 fellas stand up to corruption and Lindsey Grant, what people like Sylvian and all of them do, Pam said, throw them out. Will we forget? What video are you telling us about today? Lindsey Grant and Marriott Blanchett, what the boy name? Bernie Welch, Roy Fleming, and another guy. 5 of them say it was wrong, and Lindsey Grant should be thrown out of the party. What did they do? The tape is there on YouTube, the world could see Lindsey. What did the People's Action Movement do? Well, let's say it was a real. Let me would get money. But what is the difference with the man in the BVI who was set up by America? And what Lindsey Grant do?
Well, we don't know if he was set up by America. He's claiming that he was set up by America.
Well, the Americans say you had people acting as drug dealers.
Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a setup. It was just it was part of their investigation.
Listen to me. At the end of the day, the man went, based on what they're saying, he showed up, and whatever story went down, so something happened.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And the evidence is there that something happened. Let us come home. Is not Lindsey Grant on a tape on YouTube talking to somebody at the Marriott? It is facts. Did not the 5 fellas for Pam scream out? And what did the people say in this country? People like your good caller, Sylvine. What did they say then? People that tell me, I cook the guy now, the same thing all the time. Now we're debating Tatolo. But we ain't debating here. I don't care what England take over. Because as far as I see England need to come take over, I think it's right now. Because the same people today who want to condemn England, when we forget they went to England in 2015? What are we, my brother? A bunch of dummies? The same people went to England for Douglas. Will we forget? How do they want to use England? The same people today, when Sinkits get the advisory of the Canada with the passport, did they stand in solidarity with Sinkits? You ask me. Did Mark Bradley say he's standing with Douglas? You know what Mark said? And I got it. Douglas wanted to sweep it under the rug. They went to meet with the Canada Prime Minister, even make the man get in trouble because he came on a private visit and a little vacation, not knowing that Canada wasn't supposed to know. You forget? My brother, we got to stop playing with people. But remember, and I was watching and paying attention then because everybody was jumping up. Times Caribbean thinking that advisory from America. And all of them used to jump up. Douglas got to go. He's selling the passport. Let's not forget, my brother. Now today, we're trying to take side with Tatolo. But we got a problem here. Lindsey Grant is a problem. Lindsey Grant is a problem. And we put him in government when we were supposed to say, well, Lindsey Grant's career is supposed to be finished. We'll wrap up the Marriott.
All right.
Look what happened again. Hold on. Look what happened again lately.
Yeah, we'll take some other calls. Hurry up.
No problem, my brother, but I'm just saying to you, we must be honest. Let us not worry about Tatolo. We got an international problem, yeah. Let us solve the problem. We're running from the problem. All of a sudden, we're jumping down Tatolo. It is wrong. My brother, let us deal with the issue here today. Lindsey Grant is a problem. He's no different to the man in Tatolo. And you got the government bring him here some years ago for the campaign. I think the Prime Minister went Tatolo for something the man having. And guess what? Who in charge of the report? Is not that conflict of interest? My brother, you have a lovely day.
All right, thank you, God, for your contribution to this program. We'll take this break, and when we come back, we'll continue Voices right here on Win FM 98.9.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM. We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsburg's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsburg's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsburg's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Welcome back to Voices here on 1FM 98.9. Let's head back to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon.
You know, they always say it's not for lack of tongue why cattle can't talk.
There's some feedback. Could you please turn off the radio?
Yeah, just hold on while I get to it. Give me a little time.
Yeah, there was some feedback, so just make sure the
All
radio
right,
is turned
Devon.
off. Okay, go ahead.
Right, I just turn it off, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, no, so let me start again. No, it's not for lack of tongue why cattle can't talk, you know. And some people, by bringing up certain incidents, only further incriminate themselves. Who set up the trap for Mr. Grant? Who? And it was proven, you know, they did it. Now, when you go, and I thought people are very naive, that's why I tell you, watch who you talk to. Watch who say they're your friends. Imagine that you, in order to get rid of the opposition, have to go and entrap a man. He was foolish to go. There's no excuse for what he did, you know. There is no excuse, but the Bible talk about those who said trap for people will also fall into traps. You can't get over that. And you see election coming up, all of the party leaders, they better be careful because they're waiting for them. When you have election, you see all things can done coming in. And they said that Mr. Foy said many other leaders are also involved. So everybody waiting to hear who. Who was in this country busy defending and protecting big drug lords? Who? Some people only embarrassing other people by calling their names, you know. People are, you know, the thing about 3 days, Kittitian have 3 days memory, but maybe I'm not a Kittitian. I have very good memory. Very good memory. Remember the drug drops, the close association, the murder, the mayhem. I mean, who was in power? Not only in power, they befriended them. One went as far as to say he would give up his seat in Parliament for a drug man. And when the U.S. was trying to extradite them, who was fighting for them? Big lawyers from the party. I mean, we were in shock. And it's only one reason why some of our people have not been caught. They're waiting to catch them overseas. So all of you, whether government side or opposition side, they're waiting for you. So there's nothing to boast of. I feel sorry for the man, But it's greed. It's greed. We want to get rich quick. And the innocent people suffer. So all of you who set up trap, and sometimes they use it to change governments. You know that? The U.S. is good at that. And the British. When they want to take down a government, they know how to catch you. And they catch you because you're greedy. A lot of us, we like free things. You see election and they want to bring down plane load and jets load. If we had campaign financing laws, we would have known how on God earth could a party from a country with less than 50,000 people be able to bring in 27 flights, 30 flights. Nobody asking any question? Who is paying for this thing? They got shorts, can done. That's why I don't put on nobody shirt, 'Cause I don't know how they get it. But I can tell all of you leaders out there, while you're getting ready for election, they are out there waiting for you. They're waiting for you. A lot of you in certain positions. You work in embassies. You work in permanent secretaries. I mean, you had people had their desk like a constituency office, booklets and everything. And up to now, the same check that they're talking about, it came to the BVI. It came to the BVI. So the less you mention the person's name, the better off it is for him and for you. Warn our people. Look, whatever, you could be in the private sector. There are people whose job it is to destroy your integrity. You might think that you're not important. They're looking for where you are. People who are in the media, talking about the media. There are people who deliberately come and feed information to distort and to create. And you may not even see it. All of a sudden, they're playing friendly. And they're giving commentary and talking about, the private sector is them, they just create it. A lot of them you think are your friends. You think because they name think because they're your friends. A lot of them there to set you up. Set you up and then you're there grinning. We have a new investor and he wants this amount of land and he can bring in work. He bring in work and then he have you under blackmail and people don't even know he blackmail you. So I'm warning our people, I'm warning our people. They only don't carry you away because they don't catch you overseas. But you think they don't know what's going on in these countries? That is why they're able to make that statement and for the FI to say that many others, everybody waiting to hear who naming and call. It could be yours. It could be yours. So if you know, you could imagine in the BVI people taking out their suitcase and leaving the country. You don't think they're watching them?
I think so,
So
yeah.
I am warning again, Devon, keep your eye on people. Keep your eye on people. The Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. You never said trust in anybody. You have to scrutinize because you can't believe. People would go and set up their own on people. But it's in the Bible long time. And like, hey man, when you build a gallows for somebody, you're going to get hung on it. All right then.
All right, and thank you, caller, for your contribution to this program. We'll still taking your calls at 466-0989 or 762-0989. You're listening to Voices on Win FM 98.9, and I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Now, if I could go back to okay, we have, before I do that, let's take this other call. We have a caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Mr. Cornelius, I'm smiling from ear to ear when I listen to my good friend. Let's talk about setup, Mr. Cornelius, because you're young and you live Nevis. Let them tell us what happened to Limo back in Palm Day. Let us talk, because you don't know the history, sir. Let us go. Who put up the poster and the lamppost around this country with Limo private part out the door? Was he set up? Mr. Cornelius, if somebody set you up, you're going to fall for the trap? You tell me, Mr. Cornelius, and you know it's a setup.
No.
You tell me.
I won't.
Because listen this. And if you're going to walk into a setup without telling your wife you're going, she got all right to throw you out. Because before you left home, honey, you're going out with a friend. Okay? So she know where you're going. Isn't so, Mr. Cornelius?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Lindsey Grant didn't tell the People's Action Movement chairman, Sidney Osborne, he was going to marry her. Let us continue. He didn't tell him that. When Lindsey Grant talked about it, it was at a public meeting, I think, in Sandy Point, the whole world. Because nobody in Palm had no. So don't let children come and mama guide the system. He went on his own because he greedy. So that was the problem. So let us don't blame people for setting up. Because it's happening all the time. We want to prove the greediness. Who, Mr. Perfect, demand money? You tell me, Mr. Cornelius. You must have the truth. Under the People's Action Movement, how much drugs running was going on? Who disappeared in Kenfield? You tell me. Who the policeman was killed over Marriott? I mean, figure it back then and put back in the chair to sit down. You tell me. I don't know. I'm young. I don't know my history. Who inside edition called Devil Island? I don't know. Who was the minister and ministers that were referring to? Go back and look at the thing with inside edition, Mr. Cornelius. You go back and look at it. You go back. But you see, some of us believe that we could fool everybody. Young people like you who don't know the history. But if somebody set me up, I work in the airport for 15 years. They come with all kind of thing because that's a part of the work. And I never fall. I deliver for the past couple of years.
All right.
And a man asked me if I want a beer, I tell him no, sir. I drink a soft drink. I don't know if the boss tell him to ask me to drink a beer, to start drinking on the job.
Okay, caller, thank you. So want to take some more calls, okay?
Thank you, my brother. We must
Okay.
tell the truth.
Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Devon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I think I saw a release from CARICOM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically expressing solidarity with the BVI in terms of the move by Britain to impose direct rule. I think they called it a retrograde step. That is so, but we must be careful what we express solidarity about. For I think that the people in those remaining overseas territories choose the status that they have. Right? If there are movements to go towards independence and a full sovereignty, I think they are very muted. Okay? Well, if you choose that kind of status, there are consequences to it, which include they being able to, whatever they think about the situation, their condition, they can be overruled by the colonial power. Okay? So, yes, we down here who are independent can talk all we want about what the United Nations say about colonies. What we personally feel is bad about that status, but the people of the islands choose that instead of being governed by themselves. And when things like this happen, it kind of gives credence to what the British and other colonial powers are saying, that basically we can't govern ourselves. and they point to the leaders we choose and what they do or end up doing. Okay, that's a shameful thing about this. Okay, yes, the United States and the UK often collude, or well, if not collude, let's use the word cooperate on matters like these. Okay, because they never like the idea of our countries being used as tax havens and a place to dump the U.S. dollars or British pounds or whatever in to avoid taxes, and that sort of thing. They never liked it. Okay, and so they will come down hard when they'll use examples like this to show that we can't be trusted partners, put it that way. All right, but the bottom line remains: corruption is corruption. We have a number of corrupt leaders down these paths, and we need to do something about it. That's the bottom line. Okay, you heard Mrs. Henry chronicle the questionable actions of this and previous governments. Well, the answer is not to warn our politicians against being set up. You can only be set up if you're corrupt. Okay?
Right.
So that's not the answer.
That's very true.
The answer is to make it difficult for corruption to happen, for our leaders to become corrupt. And the only way you can do that is by putting the systems in place for good governance. Look how long we've been talking about things like freedom of information and integrity in public life, where people are supposed to declare their assets, and so you can tell if, for instance, that they've been using their public office to accumulate wealth. Long time we've been talking about that. Well, why do you think we have not instituted those things? I mean, people should ask themselves straight up, why hasn't it happened? Right? You think, for instance, if they had those kinds of strong systems in the BVI, right, that the premier would have gotten in the trouble he has? No, because obviously there will be consequences, right? So the thing to do is to institute these things to prevent them from happening. And nothing, what this illustrates as well, is why we should have things like term limits. Mm-hmm. Okay? You at least you minimize the damage to the point where if you have 1 or 2 terms, okay, whatever damage might have been going on is limited to that. But to keep people in there forever, right? Especially if they're using the public resources to buy influence and win friends and influence people, okay, that we see going on now, for instance, is backward, okay? Sure, it used to happen in the past, but so because it used to happen in the past, we must continue the same retrogressive foolishness, So I'm saying that you have to have systems in place to prevent this from happening, because it doesn't look good, right? It doesn't look good that our old colonial masters are going to have to come, step in and smack us on our wrists like, we're little children. I'm sure we could do better than this, all right? So let's hope that the main lesson learned from this is that we the other Caribbean territories, because they lump us all, right? Don't think that they say, well, this just happened in the BVI. You can bet your life they're looking at every country in the region and they're lumping us all together, right, and think that we're just a pack of corrupt. We just here electing a pack of corrupt leaders. The people here don't know no better. They don't know what good governance is. They don't know what democracy is. They just run after politicians and take whatever pittance they get and vote them in again and again. Okay? And so we can't just look at it as an isolated case of the Virgin Islands. They're looking at us and they're disrespecting us all the time when they think of us as this one monolithic group. So let's hope that out of this, that we clean up our acts. That's the long and short of it. Okay then.
All right, and thank you, Carlos, so much for your contribution to this program. This is Voices on WinFM 98.9. It is 20 minutes past the hour of 1 here in the studios of WinFM 98.9. Of course, we end this program at 1:30, so we have only about 10 minutes left. We'll take this break to give a shout out to our sponsors, and when we come back, we will continue Voices right here on WinFM 98.9. Stick and stay. I'll be right back.
Found the sound. 98.9 FM.
Here are your Horsford's Value Mart IGA Value Club Blue Tax Specials from May 5th through 18th. IGA peanut butter, just $8.99. IGA or essential everyday microwave popcorn, $5.99. Quaker Oats, regular and quick, $13.99. Philadelphia cream cheese, $12.99. Morningstar meatless entrees, $18.99. Suavitel fabric softener, $16.99. And now our very low weekly
value deals. IGA Essential Everyday Cornflakes, $7.99. Essential Everyday Barbecue Sauces, $6.99. Essential Everyday Ketchup, $4.49. Equaline Mouthwash, $13.99. Essential Everyday Apple Juice, $7.99. Arm & Hammer Liquid Detergent, $31.99. Shop smart, shop value man. Tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a
Value Mart.
Welcome back to Voices here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. It is 1:22, a few minutes left before we wrap up the discussion this afternoon. For those of you who are just joining us, of course, for the first hour, we had a conversation with Ron Grant out of the BVI. He is a journalist there, and he was basically providing an update on recent developments in the BVI following the arrest of the island's Premier Andrew Foy on allegations of drug trafficking and money laundering there in the BVI. As I was saying earlier, I came across a statement or some information from the BVInews.com speaking about the acting Premier, Dr. Natalia Whitley, signaling his intention to move in the direction of a unified government, which would include members of the opposition there in the BVI. The statement went on to say that the acting Premier called for a renewed commitment to the principles of democracy, good governance, accountability, and transparency. He said there was a need for everyone to recognize what they can do to improve the BVI, since everyone has a role to play. It went on to speak about the Commission of Inquiry. The COI recommendations pose a threat to our democracy. He said persons of good moral standing and integrity are present right in the BVI and are fully competent and able to govern the BVI in a better way than has been done in the past. He said, quote, "We all have a responsibility to improve and to hold each other accountable, Dr. Wheatley said. I will be making a statement later, and we have discussed, the leader of the opposition and myself, and members of the opposition and members of our government, having a united front in the face of the threats of a takeover, Dr. Wheatley said. He added, and not just the threat, but the threat of many of the areas which have been identified in the Commission of Inquiry report and even outside of it. Things that we know happen and which are not right, those pose threats to our democracy. It says, we denounce Premier Foy's alleged actions. It says, in the meantime, following repeated public criticism that members of the governing Virgin Islands Party have not denounced Premier Andrew Foy's alleged actions described in an affidavit filed before a Florida court, Dr. Wheatley has now decided it was prudent to do so. While restating his position that Premier Foy should be afforded due process in the legal system, Dr. Wheatley added that it was not difficult for him or anyone else to see that the actions described in the affidavit outlining the charges faced by the Premier are deplorable, disappointing, and shocking. He said, we denounce those actions beyond a shadow of a doubt. That is the acting Premier, Dr. Natalia Wheatley, out of the British Virgin Islands. I also came across something on social media suggesting that the Premier may be entering into a plea deal or something of that sort, and part of the arrangements would be for him to name some of the other people who are involved. And I think what I saw was that he's going to be naming some other Caribbean leaders that may be involved in money laundering and drug trafficking. So over the next few days, as this continues to develop, I want to encourage our people here to stay tuned, as you know, we are all one people, and what happens in the BVI would ultimately affect us, and what happens here in St. Kitts and Nevis and neighboring Caribbean islands. Of course, as I said earlier, right now the Caribbean is being painted with a broad brush that we're all corrupt people and we're all involved in corrupt practices, when that may not be the case, for us. But I want to encourage people to stay tuned and follow what is happening in the BVI, as over the next few days, this will continue to develop. This will continue to develop, and people definitely will be following what is happening there in the BVI. Some, as I've said before, are shocked. Some callers say that they're not necessarily shocked. It's just that, this has really reached a point that we did not expect it to. So not that you're shocked at the news of the Premier allegedly being involved in money laundering and drug trafficking, but you're just at a great shock that it has come to this point where it's really, really in the public domain. We'll take one last call, as we have a caller that is trying to get in. So we'll take this final call and we'll wrap up the program for today. Let's take this call. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Cornelius. Over the years, you've been hearing about the stem cell. What happened to it?
I don't know.
Exactly. We investigating. Everything we investigating, We hear about the hut. We investigating. The boots, them and the strip can't finish yet. The toilet and what's not. We investigating. We had an issue with leader in London with the man from Antigua. We still can't hear nothing yet. We investigating. Look at everything we've gone in this country for the past 7 years. Where our politicians them name involved. we're investigating. Look at the same thing in the Mr. Properties and my money. Nobody could come tell us nothing up to now. They said they're supposed to be tribunal and the whole 9 yards. Anybody say anything to us, Mr. Cornelius? Have you heard an update, Mr. Cornelius?
I have not.
Okay, but we're worrying about Katola. We fired the CMO for standing up in the hospital for the stem cell, Dr. Martin, you could recall. And up to now, nobody could tell us nothing. Because we in the Caribbean and we do as we like. Just get up every day, everybody's doing as they like. And we blame Douglas for all kind of thing. Look what happened in the BBI, I hear people being resigning. Have you heard anybody resigning thinking yet? Have you seen anyone of a politician and go to jail yet? Because we the people, we support a party, and what they do, once they do anything, it's okay. We said Douglas will go in jail. We say he did this and he did that, okay? But what happened up to now? You can't bring nothing to the country to show us. Well, yeah, here's the facts. But I could stand here today and tell the Lindsey Grant when Marriott I was willing to sell the land and put the money in the offshore account. That is the facts on YouTube. He said it at a public meeting. These are the facts, Mr. Cornelius.
All right.
My brother, you have a lovely day. People need to pay attention. Young people, you pay attention.
Okay, caller. We're out of time, so we're going to have to end this program now, okay?
My brother, have a good day.
You take care, man. Okay. All right, this is the end of Voices right here on Win FM 98.9 for today, Wednesday, May 4, 2022. And I've been your host, Devon Cornelius. Until next time, stay safe, and thank you so much for your contribution and participation to this program. Stay tuned to Win FM 98.9 for the remainder of the programming. Let me just give you a quick update on what's happening for the remainder of the day. So, of course, we have coming up next is Working For You. Then we have Conscious Business at 3. And, of course, join us at 6 p.m. for the daily sports and news. This has been Voices. Until next time, you guys keep safe.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
The future is unknown. Protect your life, your family, and your valuables from unforeseen circumstances. Let National Caribbean Insurance